I have a joke about this woman who went to a mystic, to a fortune teller. She says, I want to get in touch with my grandmother. Takes a couple of dollars from her and says, we'll get in touch right away. And all of a sudden there's this voice, hello, my grandchild. And the woman says, Grandma, that's you? Yes, it's me. And she says, when did you learn to speak English? This is not you. A yahrzeit is a very powerful experience, not just in our imagination, but in reality. Because there is so much more to reality than we are usually aware of. So I want to tell you this story, true story. I was invited to speak for about a week worth of lectures in Argentina. This must have been 17, 18 years ago, maybe more. The trip from Minnesota, where I lived, to Argentina, to Buenos Aires, was a long, miserable trip. And this was a particularly bad flight. I don't enjoy flying. I don't know anybody who does. It was miserable. From Minnesota to New York, Miami, Miami to Santiago, Chile, and from Chile to Buenos Aires. It was a very long trip. So when I get there, I'm really looking forward to the hotel room to recover. It was almost 19 hours, the entire flight. So I'm really looking forward to the hotel room. What usually happens is the Chabad Shliach picks me up, takes me to a hotel, I spend the night recovering, and then the next day I can start the lectures. So he picks me up, and we're on our way to the hotel. And he says, you know, there's a woman in the community suffered a terrible tragedy. She is severely depressed. She hasn't left her apartment in over 6 months. She refuses to talk to anybody. And we're very worried about her. But she finally agreed to speak to you. So we made an appointment, and we'll stop at her apartment on the way to the hotel. It was so outrageous. It has to be on the way to the hotel. He says, yeah, we'll stop there and you'll talk to her. So I was really, really upset. I mean, really upset. First of all, I'll talk to her. She's severely depressed. You talk to her. Secondly, she's severely depressed 6 months. It can't wait until tomorrow. But mostly it bothered me. No warning. You didn't ask me if I want to. You just went ahead and made an appointment. But she's expecting us. So there's no choice. You have to go. So we go there. This woman was not among the living. It's like she had died and nobody told her. The room felt like death. There was no life in her, in the room, in her color, in her eyes, in her tone, nothing. It was very scary. And she tells me the story. 19-year-old son was on his way home from the country summer home, arriving back in town in time for slichot. He was in a car accident as he got close to the city. His friends in the car survived and he did not. Then she tells me what an incredible boy he was. Incredible. Wise and mature and considerate and respectful and just wonderful. All the virtues you would want. So when she finishes, what can you possibly say? So I said, you had such an incredible son. You had him for 19 years. That's amazing. She was not impressed. So I said, the shock, the sudden, unexpected shock, that's horrible. But imagine if there was no shock. If God had come to you and said, there is this incredible neshama, needs to be born for 19 years, and I'm looking for someone to be his mother. And if God would have said to you, would you please be the mother of this boy for 19 years? What would you have said? I was sure she would say yes. She said, absolutely not. So without thinking, I said, well, it's a good thing he didn't ask you. The flood of tears that opened up, that's been waiting for 6 months to come out, finally poured out. She cried her heart out, and 20 minutes later, she was back alive. I saw a woman come back alive from the dead. Such an amazing experience. Probably the most dramatic moment in 50 years of talking to people. So now we're back in the car, and we're going to the hotel room. And I'm thinking, I was so upset that they didn't ask me if I wanted to speak to this woman. And then I realized if they had asked me, what would I have said? Absolutely not. And that would have been the wrong answer. Because it was such an incredible experience. It was worth more than all the hotel rooms in the world. So I made up my mind that from now on, if something good can happen, if I can be of any kind of service, the answer is always absolutely yes. That was my New Year's resolution. 2 years ago, I'm invited to speak in Mexico City. It's not as far as Argentina, but still, it was an uncomfortable flight. I finally land there. The traffic from the airport to the city is impossible. And halfway to the hotel, the driver says to me, you know, this is not Argentina. I said, what do you mean? He says, I'm taking you straight to the hotel, no stops along the way. I said, that's very nice, thank you very much. He says, at the hotel, there's a couple waiting for you. They suffered a terrible tragedy. They don't want to talk to anybody anymore. But they'll talk to you. So when we get there, you'll talk to them. I forgot my resolution. I was not at all happy. I said, can't it wait an hour? No. They're very upset. They're planning on leaving town. So you got to talk to them now. Anyway, we walk into the hotel. This beautiful young couple. Beautiful people. He was the life of the party at the synagogue. He kept Shabbat, he put on tefillin. He was a delightful human being. The tragedy was a 6-year-old daughter who died of an aneurysm, which means she died very suddenly, and they weren't home when it happened. He is so angry at God. He is not keeping Shabbat anymore. He's not putting on tefillin anymore. Doesn't go to the synagogue anymore. Doesn't want to be part of the community anymore. Spoke to every rabbi, to every teacher, to every thinker, trying to explain. He doesn't want to hear anymore. It's done. He's finished. Interesting how he said, do you know why I'm so angry at God? Because I love him. And he stabbed me in the back. Pretty difficult words to hear. So I knew that I had to say something that most rabbis don't say. So I asked him, has your daughter visited you yet? He was a little surprised by that. He says, twice. I asked him, what did she say? He says, she didn't say anything, she just smiled, kind of letting me know that she's okay. I said, why does she have to come twice? I think it's because she's telling you two things. She's okay and she could be happy, but you're not letting her. She is 6 years old. See, in heaven you don't get older. If you die at 6, you remain 6. So she's still 6 years old. She is still your daughter. And it's very heavy for her to know that you're not keeping Shabbos anymore, you're not putting on tefillin anymore, you're angry at God because of her. Why would you do that to your daughter? In fact, when did you stop being her father? You're so busy grieving and mourning, you forgot that you have a daughter? You forgot that she's 6 years old and needs her father? You don't realize how uncomfortable she is seeing you being so uncomfortable? Why don't you go back to being her father? And do for her what a father does for a daughter. It was a 10-minute conversation. And he said, should I put on the tefillin now or should I wait till I get home? And I realized the lack of information that we have that cheats us of having the right experience. When we say the neshama doesn't die, what do we mean by that? What does it mean? The neshama goes to heaven. What does that mean? So there's a non-Jewish theory that the soul comes to heaven and becomes an angel, becomes a malach, and all the angels are the same. That's not true. When we say the neshama doesn't die, it means the person doesn't die. It's not just some living energy. The same person that was here on earth is now in heaven. The same personality, the same memories, the same character, the same relationships. So a 6-year-old girl is still a 6-year-old girl, somebody's daughter. She happened to have a good sense of humor. Not everybody does. Somebody actually asked me, he had lost his father, and they were sitting around by the shiva, and they were making jokes. So he turns to me and he says, "Is that okay? It's okay to make jokes?" I said, "I don't know your father. If he had a good sense of humor, I'm sure he's enjoying your jokes. If he didn't have a good sense of humor, cut it out." Because he hasn't changed. So it's not that the neshama continues to live like a neshama. The neshama continues to live like the person he was when he was on earth. So when you speak to your grandparent, you speak to your parent, or God forbid to a child, you're talking to the same person who has the same memories, the same connections. If it was your favorite daughter, she's still your favorite daughter. If it was your favorite grandmother, she's still your favorite grandmother. Nothing changes except the location. And what happens, unfortunately, is that we forget. We go into grieving. We're told to sit Shiva. So we get very serious and very religious about sitting Shiva. And we forget there's a person. There's a relationship. And that relationship needs attention, just as it did on earth. So now I understood what happened with the woman in Argentina. What did I say that made her cry? I said, it's a good thing God didn't ask you if you want your son, because you would have said no. Why was that so dramatic? When she realized she had said no. If God asked her if she wants to be the mother of this boy, she would have said no. And when she realized what she had just said, she was shocked. I just said no to my son. I don't want my son? What kind of mother says that? And she realized that she had stopped being a mother. She was a full-time griever. And that's where the tears opened up. She went back to being a mother. So on a yahrzeit, we're not talking about somebody who is gone. We're not even talking about somebody who has changed. The only thing that changes when you're in heaven rather than here is that you don't have a Yetzer Hara. So all the negativity, all the foolishness is gone, but the character, the person remains the same. Now the joke about this woman who went to a mystic, to a fortune teller. She says, I want to get in touch with my grandmother. And the fortune teller takes a couple of dollars from her and says, we'll get in touch right away. And all of a sudden there's this voice, hello, my grandchild. And the woman says, Grandma, that's you? Yes, it's me. And she says, when did you learn to speak English? This is not you. The soul doesn't change. If it didn't speak English here, it doesn't speak English in heaven. So a yahrzeit is a very meaningful and personal and real experience. And the same, of course, is true with Yizkor. So a few years ago in Minnesota, there was an influx of Russian Jews. And one elderly couple who had been professionals in Russia, when they came to America, they had to clean houses to support themselves. So they were working in our house. It was an older man, he was in his 70s. I said to him, "Come, let's put on tefillin." He says, No, the Torah. He said, my father did that. That Torah, that's not for me. The next day I asked him again. He said, no. Anyway, I kept asking him. And eventually he figured, okay, I'm a nudnik. Fine, I'll put on the tefillin. We start putting on the tefillin, and he starts making the bracha. And suddenly he starts to cry, which is kind of common. But listen to what he said. He got so emotional, he started to cry. He says, the Torah, my father did this. So yesterday that was a reason for not doing it. No, I don't. Torah. Now all of a sudden it's, wow, I'm putting on tefillin just like my father. So see what was waiting just under the surface. So when he said no, that was not him talking. That was communism. That was the effects of communism. That was not him. When he put on the tefillin, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, my father did this. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. We have a Sunday night program for VIPs that you might be interested in. It's informal. It's questions and answers. It's conversation. It's really relaxed. It's really pleasant, enjoyable, informative, and kind of community-like. It's a Sunday night program. There's a Wednesday morning program for the VIPs, and there's a Wednesday night program. All of it just conversation, casual, laid back, unscripted. So join us. Take a look. Click the link below and see which of the three suits you best, and join us for some enjoyable conversation. One of the big mistakes that people make in their marriage is that they violate the border. It sounds a little paradoxical. You're there to become one, and yet you have to respect the border that gives each of the spouses their own space, their own personality, independence, and so on. So if you violate that border, if you cross that border, you're violating the marriage. So one of the tip-offs, you can tell whether a person is thinking right in their marriage by the very common expression. A husband says to his wife, you know, you should be doing, or you shouldn't be doing this. As soon as you start doing the thinking for your spouse, you are crossing a border. You're there to do your own thinking, to play your role, to make your contribution to the marriage. As soon as you cross over and start doing the thinking for the other, what they should do, how they should act, what they should say, what they shouldn't say, you've crossed the border. And of course that doesn't work. You can't do someone else's thinking for them. Of course you can influence that thinking, but without crossing the border. By being who you are, and by doing what you ought to do, you do influence the relationship itself. One of you can make it better for both of you. But as soon as you start thinking how she should make it better, or what he should do to make it better, you're out of control. You're focused on something that you cannot control. Of course you're going to get frustrated, and you're going to get angry at the other, because it's so obvious what the other should do, and they're not doing it. So who's at fault here? The other. Sometimes it even goes so far as like, I am not going to be nice until you straighten out and behave the way you should behave. And until then, I am not going to do what I'm supposed to do. So where is this going to lead? Where does this go? So we have to watch our language, because it expresses our truest attitude. We should never. You see? We should. It doesn't work to tell the other what they should do, because now you're out of your element. You have surrendered control. You've lost control. Not only over the relationship, but over yourself. Because you're so frustrated by what the other should be doing. So let's go back to being who we need to be. The husband has to focus on his responsibility and his commitment to making her life better. So whatever is going on, his only thought should be, what can I do to make it better? So a guy comes and asks me in marriage counseling, he says, what can I do to make my wife happy? You know what the problem is. I mean, it's so obvious. You're asking me how to make your wife happy? You know where she lives. Ask her. And then when you ask her, take her answer seriously. Believe her that that's going to make her happier, even though it doesn't seem like something that you would want. It wouldn't make you happier. And so you find it hard to believe that it'll make her happier. Believe her. Let her thinking be independent of yours. Her opinion is independent of yours. You're there to fulfill it. So surrender to the relationship. That is going to remove things and allow the two of you to actually blend and become one.